Hi everyone, it's William. It's cold today, so I really am bundled up. It's 12 degrees, and you may scoff, but for me that is cold, especially since it's not dry air here like it is in Davos. But I'm pretty much dressed in Davos items today. I have my hat, which was given to me by PS Up at Schatzalp. I have a scarf and gloves that were provided to me last spring when I misplaced my scarf and gloves. I never did find the gloves, but I found the scarf. But it's a lighter scarf. I think you've seen it. My sister-in-law made it, a blue scarf, and it's a loose knit, so it's not as... This one is lamb's wool or cashmere or something, and very warm. And so housekeeping, they gather these things and set them aside, and you know, if enough time goes by, then they're not going to be reclaimed. And so if a guest, or in my case the historian in residence, happens to lose things, they provide them, which is great. But I'm really bummed out because I can't find, after I lost my gloves and I used these, and then I went and bought some really nice Swiss gloves, very warm, and I know I brought them back with me, but I can't find them, so that's a bummer. But anyway, here we go with this is the second half of the diary entry for the 8th of October 1907, and we're getting near to the end with these with this set of diary entries that start in January 1906, and the last entry will be the 18th of October 1907. So we have about 10 days to go, and some little ones, some big ones. So what happened in the previous diary entry? Well, it was school day for Dmitri, so lots of lessons, and in between going out to the Nieskuchny Palace with the Lamings and doing a little bird hunting, and then coming home and strumming his mandolin and his balalaika for a while until bedtime. So, well, not until bedtime. No, what am I saying? This is until let's see, 7 o'clock, I guess, roundabout. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm getting caught up in that. All right, so here we go. At 7 o'clock, GM and MN had dinner because they were going to the Zeman Theater to see The Maid of Orleans. Naturally, I didn't go. It was impossible to think that I'd be allowed to. We had dinner at 8 o'clock, but once again without Tyotya. Then I played Diabolo with Vilgashka. Tomorrow I'll be free from 9 to 10 a.m., so I'll be able to get up later, I think, and have some free time, because all I had scheduled was Russian, and he wasn't here today, and Mr. Cook came instead. I might go to the theater on Thursday to see the Queen of Spades, but probably without Maria, because her fiancé can't go. He's in mourning for his grandfather, the Grand Duke of Baden, who died very recently. I don't think it's even been a month. I hope Tyotya will let me go. If she doesn't, she'll probably gasp and say that without Maria it would be indecent. That would be like her. GM told me in passing that he's pleased with me and that I'm a good student, which was, of course, very pleasant to hear, although I myself don't think I am. 10:30 p.m. Okay, so that is the rest of the day on the 8th. As you recall, Dmitri had thought it would be nice to go with the Marlings to The Maid of Orleans, this opera about Joan of Arc, but he didn't expect to be allowed to, and indeed that was the case. So Aunt Ella is not making an appearance again on this day, because presumably because of the headache that had hit her the day before. I don't know if she had migraines or what, but it must have been a heck of a headache. For some reason, Dmitri doesn't tell us the name of his Russian teacher. He tells us the names of most of his other teachers, but for some reason, the Russian teacher appears to be the nameless one, because he only refers to him as he. And he wasn't here today, so Mr. Cook came instead. So I really don't know anything about Mr. Cook. If any of you know anything about Mr. Cook, please enlighten me. He was obviously some kind of teacher to Dmitri. This is his first appearance in the 1906-1907 diaries, but that doesn't mean he was new necessarily, and he will make a reappearance in Dmitri's 1915 diaries, and also in a letter that Dmitri wrote in 1918 he will be mentioned. So, yeah, at some point, hopefully we'll find out more about him. So this is another opera that Dmitri wants to go to. He says he wants to go to the theater on Thursday, but he means to the opera theater to see the Queen of Spades. So, like the Maid of Orleans, the composition was done by Tchaikovsky, and it's from a Pushkin short story, quite dramatic, with two suicides and star-crossed lovers and a ghost and all the things you expect to find in operas of that type. But here we find out that Prince Wilhelm's grandfather has just died, the Grand Duke of Baden, Frederick I. He was 81 years old, and an interesting connection that, of course, Dmitri could not have foreseen was that he was the owner, I believe, of Mainau, the island in Germany, Insel Mainau, which would be passed on to his great-grandson, Maria and Wilhelm's son, Count Leonard Bernadotte, originally Prince Leonard. And so Dmitri would spend time there, a little bit of time, and he would, all of the letters that he wrote to his sister that survived in his sister's diaries and his father's diaries, Grand Duke Paul's diaries, would all end up in the archive at Mainau, and the clincher is that he himself would end up in the crypt at Mainau after his death. But of course, well, he was almost 20 years buried in Davos in the Waldfriedhof, and then at Maria's request his remains would be exhumed and sent to Mainau, which is where he continues to be until this day. So just as well that he didn't know about that connection at the time. So yes, Dmitri's favorite word of late, as we know, indecent. Tyotia, I hope she'll let me go, but if she doesn't, she'll probably gasp and say that without Maria it would be indecent. So he seems to use this word pretty indiscriminately, whether it's apt or not. I don't think people seeing a 16-year-old boy at the opera with undoubtedly some kind of blaming or somebody else along with him. I don't think anybody would think of that as being indecent, that he wasn't there with his sister. So Lord knows what he means by that word, but apparently he seems to think that Ella will find the very idea of it repugnant in some way. Your guess is as good as mine. But we'll be finding out about that. And then we have this little bit at the end. He gets a compliment from Laming, who tells him he's pleased with me and I'm a good student. And I think I would second that. He does seem, despite the fact that he waits till the very last minute to do his homework, he does seem to be a good and conscientious student, and obviously makes a real effort, and doesn't complain about his homework or you know, these days doesn't complain about his lessons saying that they're boring or anything like that. So good for him. But for whatever reason, and really it's quite typical of Dmitri, he writes that he doesn't think that he is a good student. He's happy that Laming said that, but he himself doesn't think that he is. And he always does kind of have that side of him where he feels like he's not really good at things. He's not really good at the sports he likes. He's not really a good student. And I wonder how much of that goes back to Sergei, to Uncle Sergei, who seems to have sort of used shame as a way to keep his niece and nephew in line, and to, yeah, I mean, just in general, make them feel that they are never quite doing good enough and that they should be ashamed of themselves. And so Dmitri seems to have taken that somewhat to heart, and he will display that also as an adult. But at least when it came to sports, it made him a very good sport. Not a person who blamed other people or blamed the sun being in his eyes or anything like that. So, yeah, it is what it is, and we're moving on to the 9th of October, and one of the interesting things in this next diary entry of the 9th is that Dmitri is going to give us his assessment of his future brother-in-law. So do come back for that, and I'll see you next time. Bye.